Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sarah. In today's video, I am going to be tackling the daily dress by, I think the pattern maker's name is Cayden Naughton. I am excited because this dress is unique, at least compared to anything that I have sewn. It is an adjustable dress, so it has a corset back, but as someone who is pregnant right now, I am kind of looking to make a garment that I can wear throughout the entirety of my pregnancy, hopefully, unless I get just too big at some point, but it does have a fair amount of ease built in. Let me show you the fabric that I'm going to be using. So I thrifted what I think is a tablecloth in this super awesome red linen. Nope, it's not linen. Looks like this used to be a tablecloth from Target, and it is 100% cotton. I just think it will be such a fun pop of color and something that I really don't have in my wardrobe right now is a red dress. I really don't even wear a lot of red, even though I gravitate towards it. So I thought that this would be perfect for this project. And I haven't cut out any of the fabric yet, and I don't want to waste any more time, so let's just get into it. I found out online that you can rip fabric when you don't have a selvage, to find out the direction of the grain. And so that's what I did here. And I was grateful that the grain line goes up and down, because if it went the other direction, I would not have had enough fabric for this project. Shimmy. All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you, that cutting was quite the journey. It took me about 2 hours just to cut all of that fabric, and I was honestly nervous for a little while, thinking that I wouldn't have enough fabric for the dress, but somehow I made it work. Now we're finally ready to actually get into some sewing, or rather serging, so still more prep work, but we're getting there. So I've got the side front that I'm going to serge on both sides here. So we're going to take this side and this side, get that serged up on both mirrored pieces. And then we also have the center front pattern piece 1 that looks like this. And we're going to get it serged on this side and on this side. And then finally, the side back, which we're gonna serge on this side and on this side. Actually, we are only serging on this side. Okay, now that we're all prepped, I'm going to take the center front, and to it I will attach both side front pieces. All right, we're back. It's been exactly 1 week since I first started this project, so I am excited to get back to it. Let me show you where I left off. So I put together the front bodice. It's looking pretty good. I went through and pressed all of the seams for an extra clean finish. In addition, I stay stitched the neckline. It's kind of hard to see because of the red thread, but yeah, I did this to hopefully prevent the neckline from stretching as I finish the neckline. Also, it is 9:45, so I'm about to have myself a little cozy nighttime sew sesh. Welcome back. It's now been 8 days working on this project. Hopefully this is somewhat of a more realistic sewing video for you guys. I used to have the mentality of I gotta finish the project over the weekend or in just one day, but that's just really not feasible for me. And I also find that I kind of work in short bursts of inspiration. So it's Sunday, it's the next day, and I am feeling inspired and excited to continue with this project. Something funny that happened to me was I started to panic because the pieces were not aligning, but it turns out that I just skipped a step. So let me show you what I've completed thus far. So we've got the front of the bodice done, looking cute, nice and pressed. And I have the center back piece with the loops tacked on. So this is going to be how the corset goes up, how the corset fastens in the back. Now let me show you where I panicked. All right, so this is the center back of the bodice. Now I freaked out because I was trying to follow the instructions. I was like, all right, let me go ahead and get this front bodice and attach it to the back. And I'm all here, okay, let me go ahead and pin, and then wait a minute. Why do the shoulder seams not match up? And so I'm freaking racking my brain. Did I cut out the wrong size on the bodice pieces? Like, what is going on? When I figured out that the side back pieces had not been attached to the front bodice pieces. So the side back shoulder seam is what is going to match up with the center back. Duh. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and go back a few steps. Gonna take the front bodice pieces, center front, side fronts, and I'm gonna attach the side back pieces like such. So now we have the bodice all sewn up. It's looking pretty good. I'm really pleased with how clean the seams are looking. So next step is going to be to bind the neckline. Now I wish I had enough of that red tablecloth to cut out a binding that would match the fabric, but I don't. Because it has to be cut on the bias, there just was not enough real estate in that fabric. So I'm gonna be using pre-made bias tape. This is white bias tape, maybe not ideal, but it's gonna be just on the inside of the dress, so I don't think it's gonna matter so much. It'll still have a super clean finish on the outside. So let's get going with that. I'm gonna start with the bodice right side out, just like this, and I'm going to attach the bias binding right sides facing together and pin all the way around the neckline. And I'm going to focus on sewing inside the crease of the bias binding. Okay, so I attached the binding right sides together on the neckline, and I did some understitching. You can see that little line of thread there just to hold the seam allowance in place before I go ahead and fold it over. And I had a realization that I hope doesn't derail the bodice. So the binding that I'm using is a little wider than the binding that is part of the pattern. So I'm just expecting that the bodice will, be a little more scooped, a little lower, and hopefully there are no other adverse effects, because there's really no turning back for me now. I mean, I guess there is. I guess I could unpick and find some binding that is the correct size, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give it a whirl and we'll see how it turns out. But let this be a lesson to double check if you are using pre-made bias binding. Make sure that it is the correct width before you attach it to your neckline. All right, let's hope for the best. All right, so we are now 2 weeks deep working on this project. Where we left off, I completed the bodice, mostly, about to actually complete that, because next up is attaching the sleeves. And then after that, I've got to attach the skirt to the bodice. That part I'm just a little bit nervous about because I'm going to have to do some pleats. There is the option to do a gathered skirt, but I think I'm going to challenge myself to do pleats this time because I've never done them before, and I think it will have a more elevated effect. So I'm going to give that a whirl. But yeah, let's get back to sewing. All right, now we have 2 sleeves. So we gather in between both notches and then attach the sleeves, and oh my gosh, look how pretty they came out. Okay, we are making good progress. I have finished up the top, and all I have left to do in that regard is hem the sleeves, and then that is taken care of. But now it's time to move on to the pleats. So I'm actually finding myself kind of excited to do these pleats. After reading the instructions and the pattern, it really doesn't seem that complicated. I mean, if you think about it, it's really just folding fabric over and then stitching it down. Nothing too crazy, but I found myself just a little nervous because it was my first time. But what I've done to set myself up for success is I've just transferred over the markings from the pattern onto the fabric, just so I know exactly where to fold. So let me show you what I've got set up. So here is the center crease, and I use my fabric pen to transfer the markings from the pattern over to the fabric. And all I'm really going to do is pinch and match up one marking with the one to the left of it. So this is the front skirt, and the pleats fold outward. And pretty much that's it. Then you just pin over what you folded and repeat the steps for all the other markings. And it kind of helped me to zhuzh the fabric below as I was folding on the top, just to kind of ensure a more uniform pleat. And I will be pressing this down later, so it will be a super clean finish. So now we get to attach the front skirt to the back skirt, right sides together, of course. I will say that this part was just a little tricky for me, just because I wanted to make sure that the back skirt pleats weren't being pinned awkwardly I don't know how else to explain that, but you'll see if you make this dress, the side back pleats are really close to the edge. Yeah, then you just go ahead and sew these two together along that super long seam, and that's that. So now we get to attach the bodice to the skirts and put the whole dress together. So I have the bodice facing right sides with the skirt, and I am focusing on matching up the side seams. Helps to give it a good little shake because we do have a lot of fabric we're working with here. And I did take special care to make sure that my seams were facing the right direction. Off camera, when I was pressing, there is specific directions that the seam is supposed to go, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't sew over seams going the wrong way, create something wonky, and then just simply pin all around. I kind of found that it was good to just use my clips for all of the big points and then go around and reinforce with some pins. Okay, today is the day that I finished this dress. Been working on it for 2 weeks now. In reality, just like 4 days. So I do what I can each weekend. But today's Sunday, and all I have to do now is hem up the sleeves, hem the bottom of the dress, and then add the ties, and we're done. So I had been thinking about how long I want this dress to be, and the dress is intended to be kind of a maxi style, really flowy dress, and I thought that would be really fun, even though I don't own a lot of those types of dresses because I'm petite, so I wasn't really sure if it would go with my frame. But I was kind of all in and game for that with this dress until I hit a bit of a snag. All right, so obviously it's big on me because I don't have the ties in, but isn't this giving you Handmaid's Tale vibes? Not the look. And also, here's the result of the bias binding situation I shared earlier. So I am seeing some gaping because that's a pretty low scoop, and I also have a bit of a small chest, so maybe that's part of it, but I am hoping that once I cinch it together like this, it won't be such a big deal. So yeah, I think it's gonna be cute. I'm not too worried about it. Now all I've got to do is put this super long tie into the loops, and that will create the corset effect. So you just want to get a safety pin and put it on the end of your tie, and you're going to kind of weave around. So notice that I am kind of crisscrossing through the loops, and we'll go all the way down. It's kind of like lace in a shoelace, honestly. But I found that it helped to increase the length at the top of the string as I kind of went down, because otherwise you run out of string and then it gets a little too taut. Maybe that's just because I have like a little bit of a medium weight cotton fabric. So perhaps if you're working with like a rayon or something, you wouldn't really experience that issue. But oh my God, look how pretty it's looking. Last step is just to tie knots at the end of the string so they don't come through the loops, and we're done. And are you ready to see the final reveal? 3, 2, 1.
Staring outside, I don't want the sand on my surfboard for his birthday. But instead, he got snakeskin boots and a magic kit. At Santa Monica, they'll boogie down with the boombox. They're shaking booty and silver smoke the crowd.